quite badly hit. Now, in a big boost to India's third phase of its vaccination drive, the first lot of Sputnik V from Russia has just landed into Hyderabad. 150,000 doses have arrived, with another 3 million doses to be arriving into this country shortly from now. Sputnik V is one of the 3 vaccines, other than Pfizer and Moderna, that has an efficacy rate of over 90% against the coronavirus. And preventive vaccine doses will be distributed by Dr. Reddy's laboratories. They've tied up with Dr. Reddy's. They will be possibly producing and distributing these vaccines. Let me quickly cut across. Joining me live right here, Kirill Dmitriev, Russian Direct Investment Fund CEO, the firm behind development of Sputnik V vaccine. Mr. Kirill, thank you very much for speaking to India today. If you can give us an insight into the Sputnik V vaccine, 150,000 doses has just landed into Hyderabad. It will be distributed soon enough, but you do know India is really in need of a larger consignment, and we believe Russia has now come out with a helping hand. We'll be supplying 3 more million doses of the Sputnik V in due course of time. Do take us through the arrangement that you have with India right now.
Well, first of all, we are very happy that the first shipment arrived on the day of the mass vaccination in India. And of course, it's just a first shipment of many to come. And Sputnik V is really a Russian-Indian vaccine. And we really have built it in partnership with Indian scientists, with Indian production companies. And a big part of Sputnik V will be produced in India. So we are very proud that we can be with India at this challenging times. And we definitely are ramping up manufacturing of Sputnik V in India as well. We believe that starting from the end of next month, some production will already be happening in large quantities in India. So we are happy to be one of the 3 vaccines approved in India with very high efficacy, with very high safety, really working together to fight the virus with Indian people.
Well, we're delighted that we have the Sputnik V vaccine in India. If you can give us a small insight as to why Sputnik V is considered as one of the superior vaccines in the country. After Pfizer and Moderna, Sputnik V is said to have about 90% efficacy. Could you really explain to us exactly why this has a high percentage of efficacy rate? We believe there are 2 vaccines. One is the preventive and one is to cure.
Yes, so there is a very interesting detail about Sputnik V. Sputnik V is a cocktail of 2 different shots. And because we use 2 different shots, we have very high efficacy. And actually in the Lancet magazine, the efficacy was 91.6%. But when we started using it in Russia, on 3.8 million people, the vaccine showed efficacy of 97.6%. So we believe it's one of the most efficient vaccines in the world. We also showed high efficacy against different mutations, and we will soon release data on Sputnik that shows it's one of the best in the world in fighting mutations. And another point is safety. So if you look at reports from Mexico, Argentina, Hungary, countries that compare vaccines, you have Sputnik V as showing by far the least any of the side effects and being with one of the safest profiles. So it's a combination of safety and efficacy, but really, as I said, it's built in big partnership with India because clinical trials were done in India, and we really call it Russian-Indian vaccine.
All right, you call it Russian-Indian vaccine because the clinical trials were done in India. If I can ask you the sample size, the number of people on who the trials were conducted, Mr. Dmitriev.
Yeah, so I think just in India, it was, I think, over 1,500 people, but in Russia, it was on 30,000 people. We had clinical trials in UAE, Venezuela, Belarus, but more importantly, vaccines is already used in tens of millions of people right now. And countries that compare consistently show that Sputnik has the highest efficacy, frankly, higher than many other vaccines. But again, we are impressed with vaccines that India already has. We are working in partnership with those vaccine manufacturers, and we believe that all 3 vaccines in India will work together. And also Sputnik at some point will also be exported out of India. And India will be one of the key production hubs, saving lives not only in India, but with Sputnik in other countries as well.
Well, we can't wait to scale it up. This is a dire situation that the country is facing. It's a humanitarian crisis, and unless and until most of our population is vaccinated, we would still say we're at risk. How many people in Russia have been vaccinated with the Sputnik V vaccine, Mr. Dmitriev?
So again, India is a much larger country than Russia. So we have around 15 million people that have been vaccinated in Russia, and we are ramping this up quite a bit. But if you look at the number of people who received 2 doses of shots, Russia is by far the leader in Europe. You know, vaccine scarcity is an issue for all of the countries, but we are really counting on partnership with India to scale this up. We have partnerships with 7 top manufacturers in India, and this is really going to be important because all of the technology transfer has completed. We already confirmed quality of many of the producers, that there's the highest quality with all of the checks, and India will be one of the bases for production.
Right. The vaccine dose, you say that it's a cocktail of 2 doses. Between how many days is each dose given? What's the gap between the 2 doses? And any adverse events we'd really like to know that's been reported or analyzed.
Yeah, so basically vaccine is very safe because it's based on human adenovirus, which is a very simple flu virus that has been tested for decades and has been given, for example, to all of the US soldiers starting from 1971. So it's the safest platform available. That's why we invested in it. And real is a number of side effects for Sputnik, for example, in Mexico is 7 times less than for some other vaccines. And basically, this is the technology that is incredibly safe and has been proven to be safe throughout the world. And that's why we focused on it so much.
Right. And
sorry, the second part of the question was?
Well, let me get straight here. You need to get some permissions from India, from the drug controllers. When will you likely be getting those permissions, and how many vaccines in totality will be coming in from Russia to India?
Yeah, so first of all, already we have all of the necessary permissions to start inoculations, and we really appreciate work with a great Indian regulator. It was really teamwork, and by the way, we wanted to thank Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Paul, who's really been driving this effort a lot, and Prime Minister Modi, of course, who's really provided leadership. So it's a great effort. And then we have still some permissions that need to be for production of vaccine in India. We expect to receive them in the next couple of weeks. But basically, all of the permissions are there to start vaccinating. And again, this was done in record time.
Right.
And the government moved very, very quickly on this.
Mr. Dmitriev, when do you think a common person like us would get it? When will we be able to likely access the vaccine in person?
Yeah, and by the way, I forgot to answer your question. We expect
how many doses are coming in? Yes.
Yes. So we expect in India by the end of the year to produce 850 million doses of Sputnik. So a big number, enough for a portion of India and enough for the rest of the world. And we expect that people will get vaccinated with Sputnik already in May. And we are ramping up both supplies, both fill and finish product, and definitely production in India. So I think May is already, wins the month where people will have access to Sputnik V vaccine through our partnership with Dr. Reddy's, who's been doing a great job making it happen.
Mr. Kirill Dmitriev, thank you very much for answering all those questions. This is the need of the hour. We're waiting to get our hands on it. India is ramping up the vaccination drive at a time like this. Sputnik V is now coming into India. The first consignment has just landed into Hyderabad. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.